The house only noticed me when something started blinking. Router lights, thermostat warnings, a soft chime from the smart thermostat asking for a filter I'd ordered on my lunch break. It was the kind of attention that feels like a job you never applied for, but somehow keeps showing up to. My name is Livia. I'm 30. I live alone in a one-bedroom, 10 minutes from my mum's place, and I work as a medical billing specialist. It's spreadsheets, portals, appeals, quiet work that likes people who remember due dates. 2 winters ago, during a cold snap, Mom's gas bill doubled, and she cried on the phone because the heat had kicked off while she was at work. I paid it and told myself it was a one-time thing. Then it was the internet. Just until next month. Then, a spring Saturday, I mowed the yard because the grass was knee-high and the neighbor had posted about snakes on Nextdoor. Somewhere in there, I became the autopay. My mom is Sabrina. She's 58 and practical to a fault. She taught us to stack coupons by expiration date and keep a wrench by the water shutoff. She also learned over time that telling me I'm organized was a way to slide a problem across the table and call it flattery. My sister is Sadie. She's 26 and lives with Mom. She's the kind of person projects land on like a magnet. Vision boards, new paint colors, Pinterest pantries. But she isn't the one on hold with the utility company at 7:58 a.m. when they open. Her fiancé, Eric, is 29 and easygoing until something costs him. He's not unkind. He just likes solutions that don't require his wallet. I didn't move back home after school. I rented my place across town and visit on Sundays after I pick up produce from the cheap market. The practical reason I ended up paying things is dumbly simple. I was close, I had a flexible schedule, and I already had the logins. My job is remote 3 days a week, so I can run over on my lunch, reset a breaker, and be back at my desk by 1:00. If the internet hiccuped, I was the one who already had the support chat open anyway. It made a kind of sense that felt like care. It also added up. Last month, I sat with my bank app and realized I'd spent $283 on a house I didn't live in, $79.99 for internet, $118 to float winter gas, the rest on small things like yard waste stickers and a new GFCI outlet I installed after the old one failed. The first temporary that turned permanent was the electric. 2 winters ago, during an ice storm, Mom's old account got locked because of a fraud alert on her credit reports. I put the electric in my name for a week, so the technician would come. The heat came back. Spring came. The account never migrated back. Nobody decided that out loud. We just didn't have the conversation. "Because you're so organized," Mom would say, handing me a stack of envelopes like I collect them as a hobby. It sounded like pride and felt like work. Sadie's texts, meanwhile, read like I had a spare aisle at Target. "Can you grab paper towels on your way? Need AA batteries if you're already going. Eric needs HDMI cord. Amazon faster? X." There was never malice in it. There also wasn't a pause to ask if I had a budget that wasn't their budget. Aunt Chiara, my mom's sister, is 55 and the kind of quiet you only notice when she speaks. At Thanksgiving, she put a hand on my wrist and said, "You don't have to be the one who fixes things because you're good at it." I nodded. Then I went outside and cleared leaves out of Mom's gutter because the downspout was overflowing and we were losing daylight. Old habits are louder than one sentence. My friend Audrey is 31 and sits 2 desks over from me on the days we're in the office. She's the person who says, "What would you tell me if I were doing this?" Every time I start explaining why something is fine. I told her I'd set boundaries. She raised an eyebrow and said, "When?" It started like every week. Sunday morning, coffee in a travel mug, toolbox in the trunk because the bathroom towel bar had torn out of drywall. I swung by the hardware store for proper anchors, not the plastic ones, the metal wings, and a pack of LED bulbs because the kitchen overhead flickered. I like quiet, fixable problems. You drill, you patch, you sand, you screw the bracket back in, and it holds. After I patched the towel bar, I mowed the yard. The old mower starts on the second pull if you prime it right. I did the front, then the back, bagged the clippings, and put 2 yard waste stickers on the stack. When I was done, I dragged the bins to the curb and took my usual lap, checked the spigot for drips, make sure the dryer vent wasn't clogged with lint again. I pulled the mail with the spare mailbox key I've had since I was 19. It's brass and smooth like a worry stone from living in my glove compartment. I went to let myself in the front door. The shiny oval on the deadbolt stopped me. New smart lock. Black finish. Keypad glowing 1, 2, 3, 4 in tidy blue. I held my old key in my palm and stared at the door that used to open when I turned it. My stomach did that loose elevator drop. Temporary. My brain had been whispering for 2 years. Standing on the porch with my hands full of other people's fixes, I looked at the smart lock and heard something else. That ended. I knocked because the keypad was glowing like a stop sign. Mom opened fast, like she'd been standing on the other side. Her eyes flicked to my hand, still holding the old brass key, then to the new lock, then back to my face. "Eric put that in," she said, like it was a nice porch light. "Safety." Behind her, I could hear the TV and Sadie laughing at something on her phone. The house smelled like roast and onions. I stepped inside and wiped my shoes on the mat without thinking. Come in," Mom said. Her voice brightened up too hard. She handed me a foil-covered plate before I could shrug off my jacket. "Take this. We did a chuck roast. Carrots came out perfect." The plate was hot against my palm. That was when she said it. Quick, like ripping painter's tape. "We put the house in Sadie's name," she said. "Just streamlining. It makes sense. Avoids a lot later." The word landed and slid. I stared past her at the entry table where my childhood school pictures still leaned against a bowl of keys that weren't mine anymore. "Oh," I said. My mouth remembered congratulations, even if my chest didn't. "That's big. Congrats, Sadie." I said it loud enough for the living room. Sadie popped up from the couch with a fan of paint chips. "I'm thinking sage for the kitchen. Eric says the cabinets should go darker." Eric raised his hand in a lazy wave, eyes still on the game. "Hey, Liv." Mom was already moving, stacking mail into piles. "This is just common sense," she went on. "You don't want probate dragging on, and Sadie's here." "She'll stay close." I shifted the plate to my other hand and nodded, because nodding is a habit. "Makes sense," I said, "because that's what you say when someone has decided a thing without you." "I'll get you the new code," Mom added quickly, not making eye contact. "We're changing the side door later. This one you can just... you know." She mimed pressing numbers on her palm. I looked at her new lock, then at the old deadbolt scar on the doorframe. The plate of roast sweated in its foil. "I put new anchors in the towel bar," I said, because the words were already loaded. "It won't tear out again." "See?" she said, soft and pleased. "You're so organized." On my way out, the living room noises swelled, cans hissing open, Sadie telling Eric he wasn't touching the walls until she taped. Mom stepped onto the porch with me and pulled the door behind us. The new lock chirped and clicked itself home. Through the glass, I could see Sadie over Eric's shoulder, still smiling, still waving like we were all on the same side of this. "Drive safe," Mom said. She tucked a stray hair behind my ear like she used to when I was 14 and late for the bus. "Don't forget you left your gloves in the garage." "I got them," I said, and held up my bag. We stood there for a beat too long, both of us acting like the door wasn't the loudest thing between us. Then I took the stairs. On the drive home, I practiced lines I didn't believe. I'm happy for her. It'll be good for Mom. This was probably the plan all along. The plate slid on the passenger seat at the turns, the gravy smell filling the car until my stomach turned. I stacked the foil in my fridge, showered off grass clippings, and sat on my couch with my laptop open and my bank app glowing. Before I could scroll, my phone rang. Mom. "Hi," I answered. "Hey, sweetheart." Her voice tried for casual and landed tired. "Quick thing. The gas bill is due. $1.18. I was going to pay it Friday, but with everything going on, could you float it? You're so good at the accounts." I looked at the spreadsheet I keep for myself. Rent, insurance, groceries, and the line I'd added for Mom's house that had quietly grown a second column. I said. "Okay." My thumb hovered over the due date note I'd set a month ago. "And," she rushed on, "we're getting the internet installed at Sadie's new place on Tuesday. They're doing the faster package because, Eric's work-from-home days and the streaming. Install is $240. They need a card to set the appointment. Can you just—" I sat up. "At Sadie's new place," I repeated. "Yes," she said. "Well, here, obviously here, but it'll be her account now. We want to start fresh. Get it out of your hair." She laughed like it was generous. "You're so good with this stuff. You can put it on, and I'll Zelle you when my check clears. Or Sadie will. It's just easier for you to set it. You already have the logins." I glanced at my modem on the shelf, the little green lights that meant I had service I paid for in a place I lived. At their house, the router I'd ordered sat on Mom's TV stand because it was on my card. I could see the checkout screen in my mind, the way the installation fee line item always made me wince. "Why not keep the one that's there?" I asked. "It works." "They said new account, new install," Mom said. "Eric wants it in Sadie's name so it's official. Clean slate. You know how that is." There it was again. Official. Streamlined. Clean. Words that made messes sound like plans. I opened my bank app and scrolled the last 3 months. Internet, $79.99. Gas, $118. Yard waste stickers, $8.50. Outlet, $16.97. None of it mine and all of it mine. "I'll have to think about the install," I said. My voice surprised me by staying even. "Don't make this complicated," Mom said gently. "It's just a quick thing. You're so good at accounts." After we hung up, I stared at the list until the numbers blurred and sharpened again. Organized, I thought. Good at accounts. I closed the app and sat with my hands quiet in my lap. If I was going to be good at something, it could be endings. I didn't sleep much after the call. In the morning I made a list because that's what I do when I feel spun out. 3 columns. What I pay for, what they use, what ends when. Gas. Internet. Electric from the ice storm mess that never got undone. I added the account numbers from my notes, the customer service hours, the final read option I'd seen buried in a menu. Then I started making calls. "Final read for service address?" the rep for the gas company asked. She read me a script about timing. I picked the first business day after Sadie's housewarming, Monday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. window. "Just so you know," she added, "field windows can slide early depending on workload." "How early?" "Sometimes the day before. Sometimes it processes sooner if the meter is remote. You'll get an email." I wrote, "Window can slide," next to the date and moved to the next line. Internet. Same thing. Cancel effective the first business day after. Electric. Schedule stop service with a final meter read that Monday. Email confirmations hit my inbox one by one. I dragged them into a folder called House End. By lunch, I'd talked myself hoarse. I texted Mom and Sadie in a new thread so the information didn't get lost. "You and Sadie need to put gas, internet, and electric in your names. I'm ending service in my name as of date. I can text account numbers." Mom sent back a heart and, "You're so reliable." Sadie replied, "Can you just leave it till winter?" "We'll Venmo." No. I typed it, deleted it, then typed it again. "I will not keep funding or managing the utilities there. You're the owner, Sadie. I can send the numbers." "Don't make this complicated," Mom wrote. "We'll pay you back next month." The words didn't set me on fire the way they used to. They just landed with a thud and stayed there. I sent the account numbers. Then I closed my laptop and drove over to the house while I still had the window and while I still had the nerve. I texted Sadie when I parked, grabbing my things from the garage. "Kay," she sent back. "Door's open." The side door still had the old knob. I pushed into the garage and the smell hit me. Grass, detergent, the faint metallic of tools. My rake was hanging right where I left it. I slid it down. The box of winter gloves I'd bought after that ice storm was under the workbench. The lid popped on one corner. I found the 2 outlet timers I used for the Christmas lights, wound their cords around themselves, and tucked them in my tote. The spare mailbox key was still in the magnetic hide key on the meter. I popped it open out of habit. The little brass key winked at me in the light. I held it, felt the nicks where it rubbed other keys in my glove compartment for a decade, and slipped it into my pocket. They'd forgotten I had it. I hadn't. "Liv!" Sadie's voice floated in from the back hall. She swept into the garage with a tape measure around her neck and a sheaf of printed photos of other people's kitchens. "Okay, Sage in the kitchen, but like a grey undertone. Do you think a runner here or here?" She pointed at 2 spots on the concrete, as if rugs would materialize to help decide. "I'm just grabbing my stuff," I said. "Then I'm out of your way." She nodded, already measuring the back door. "Oh, and Eric wanted me to ask, can you just leave the internet up a little longer? His fantasy draft is Sunday, and if the new account's not set by then—" "No," I said. Calm, like a dial I'd turned. "I've scheduled an end. You and Mom need to set up your accounts." She blinked, and then adjusted the tape measure like it was her, not me, that needed straightening. "Okay, we'll do it Monday," she said, which told me she hadn't listened to the part about windows sliding. Eric leaned in the doorframe, a can in his hand. "Come on, Liv," he said, friendly with a thumb on the scale. "You know how this stuff takes forever. Just leave it a week." "No," I repeated. "It's already scheduled." "It's not my house." He made a face like he was swallowing something sour but didn't push. "Worth a shot," he said, and disappeared. I loaded the rake into my trunk, balanced the box of gloves on top, and shut it with a soft thunk. I took one last look at the neat stacks along the garage wall, my extension cord, my extra filters hanging on a nail. I considered leaving the filters, then I tucked them under my arm. They weren't mine to maintain anymore. Audrey met me for coffee at the place by the office later. She slid into the booth and put her phone face down. "You look like you did 10 rounds with a spreadsheet," she said. "I made the calls," I said. "Final reads, stop service. First business day after the housewarming." She grinned, proud without making me hold it. "Okay. Then what?" "I stop," I said. I felt it in my chest when I said it, like something unclenched. "I take the money I've been pouring into that house and I buy tires. I set up an automatic transfer. I buy quiet." "Tires, savings, and quiet," she repeated, like an order she was writing on a cup. "I like it." We split a scone and talked about nothing for 10 minutes. When she went to leave, I took my phone back out and set 2 reminders: housewarming, bring plant, and end dates. Confirm. I added a 3rd: call tire shop. It felt good to have a list that was mine. By the time I got home, the sun was down. I slid the spare mailbox key onto my own hook by my door so I wouldn't forget to return it. My email dinged. Another confirmation, this one from the electric company, a reminder of the stop service date and the window may shift based on workload line. I moved it to the folder. My phone buzzed again, this time with a notification from the family group chat. Mom changed the group photo to a blurry picture of the roast. Then a new message from her popped up in gray. "Can Livia handle the utilities? She's already set up." The group chat lit up before I'd even taken my shoes off. Mom's message sat at the top like a sticky note. "Can Livia handle the utilities? She's already set up." I stood in my entryway, keys in one hand, phone in the other, and watched the typing bubbles appear. Sadie. "Yes, please just till, like, winter. We'll Venmo." Mom. "It's just smoother if you manage it. You know the accounts." Eric. I can help switch stuff over. We just need a few days. My draft is Sunday, LOL. The thread name was Family, a photo of us 3 at Pumpkin Patch years ago. I took a breath and typed one message. "I will not fund or manage that house." I set the phone on the console table and listened to the apartment hum. My fridge, my heater kicking on. When I picked the phone back up, the chat had stacked itself tall. Mom. "Sweetheart, don't be like this. We will pay you back next month." "You know how my check timing is?" Sadie. "I can send $50 RAN and the rest after my shift Friday." Mom. "It doesn't have to be ugly. Just keep it going so we don't lose service." Eric. "We're not trying to stick you, Liv. It's just a lot to juggle all at once." I typed, deleted, and typed again. I kept it simple. "I ended service as of Monday. You and Sadie need to put accounts in your names. I already sent the numbers." 3 dots. Then. "Mom, why would you end it? We have the housewarming Sunday." Sadie. "OMG, wait! Can't the electric stay? Don't be dramatic." My thumb hovered. "Don't be dramatic." Landed exactly where they meant it to. I scrolled up to my own words and read them like a script I could stand on. "I will not fund or manage that house." The bubbles popped up again. Mom. "You know how I am with customer service. You're so good at it. Just 1 more month." Sadie. "You know how Mom is just help. We're family." Eric. "If the internet guy needs a card, we can use mine Monday. It's just easier if the appointment's in place. I could feel my shoulders creeping up around my ears. I set the phone down and got a glass of water, because doing something with my hands makes me less likely to explain myself into a corner I don't want to be in. When I came back, a new name had chimed in. Ciara. Ownership comes with the bills. Nothing fancy. No emojis. It sat there like a plumb line in a crooked room. The chat went silent long enough that I could hear the traffic outside. Mom finally. That's not helpful, Ciara. Ciara. It's clear. I opened my email, clicked the folder I'd made, House, End, and forwarded the 3 confirmations to Mom and Sadie. Subject line, for the new owner. In the body I wrote, per our texts, final read, stop service dates attached. You'll want to open new accounts before then. I did not copy the group chat. Back in the thread, Sadie had sent a crying laugh emoji, and then, "Are you serious, RN? What if the lights go off in the party?" With 3 surprised faces like that might bend physics. I typed, "You have the dates. Set your accounts." Mom. This is not how we do things. We take care of each other. I felt the old pull in that sentence, the way money and care are knotted until you can't find one without the other. I looked at my list on the counter. Tires, savings, quiet, and kept my hands still. Audrey texted me in a separate thread like she had a sensor in her head. "How's the line holding?" I sent her a photo of the group chat, and then 1 message. That's it. Back in family, Eric had sent a thumbs up, and then, "Okay, we'll figure it out. Appreciate you," which was as close to a white flag as he had. Mom, we'll discuss Sunday. Don't make a scene. I muted the thread for 8 hours. The apartment felt bigger with the noise damped. I put rice on the stove and pulled leftover roast out of my fridge, peeled the foil back, and laughed once at the steam like that was supposed to be balance. My email pinged, 2 out-of-office auto replies from utility addresses, then a 3rd confirmation for the electric. I forwarded that one too with the same subject line. The rhythm of it settled me. Click, attach, send. As I was washing dishes, my phone buzzed again. A new text, this time not in the group. Mom, you're making this ugly, Livia. Sunday came with balloons tied to the mailbox and folding chairs in the yard. I parked a block down because the driveway was full and walked up with a pothos in a terracotta pot and the spare mailbox key in my pocket, heavy like a coin I was ready to spend. Music floated out the open windows, someone's party playlist from a Bluetooth speaker, and the smell of meatballs in sauce hit me at the door. Mom opened before I could knock, like she'd been waiting. Her hug was quick, her shoulders tight. "You made it," she said, stepping back. Her eyes did a fast sweep. My hands, the plant, my face. "Come in. Put that on the counter." The kitchen was a crush of cousins and neighbors balancing paper plates. Sadie was at the center, taking everyone to see the paint samples taped to the cabinet doors. Eric stood behind a line of cheap bubbly like a bartender who hadn't learned the names yet. "Liv!" Sadie squealed when she saw the plant. "It's cute." "Where should it go?" She set it near the sink without waiting, then turned like she'd just remembered something important. "Do you want a tour?" "I know the layout," I said, smiling so it landed soft. I took the key out of my pocket and set it on the counter between us. "And this belongs to the owner." Her face flicked through a couple expressions before it settled. Surprise first, then embarrassment like she'd been caught unprepared. then a shrug that was bigger than it needed to be. She slid the key into the top drawer by the oven with the scissors. "Oh," she said. "Thanks." Eric popped a cork that made 3 people flinch. Bubbly spilled over his hand and onto the counter. "Careful, owner," he said to Sadie, laughing. "We don't give out deposit refunds." "Stop." Sadie pushed his shoulder, grinning. Mom hovered at my elbow. "Get a glass," she said, nudging one at me. She smelled like hairspray and nerves. I poured myself an inch so no one tried to top it off. Across the room, Aunt Kiara stood near the patio door with a plate of cheese and a half smile. She lifted her chin at me in a hello that didn't require me to cross the room. I nodded back. My phone buzzed in my back pocket. I pulled it out under the counter and saw the subject line before the rest loaded. Electric service update. The preview text read, "Your stop service window has been adjusted due to field workload." I opened it. "Due to workload, your final read may occur earlier than scheduled. Service may be interrupted prior to the requested date time. We apologize for any inconvenience." I felt my heart beat in my throat. I clicked the account number to be sure it was their address. It was. I locked the screen and slid the phone away. The room was loud in an ordinary way. Someone telling a story about a fender bender, kids arguing over a cupcake. I wasn't going to stand in the middle and announce a utility update like weather. "Everyone," Eric called, tapping his plastic cup with a butter knife. "Gather up. Toast time. New chapter, new owner, same low mortgage payment." He laughed at himself, pleased. "Mortgage adjacent, baby." "Eric," Sadie said, but she was smiling too, flush with attention. People shuffled closer, shoulder to shoulder around the island. The overhead light threw a warm cone over the counter, the same light I'd replaced the bulb in last month because it was flickering. Mom slid in next to me and put her hand on my forearm. It read like a warning more than a gesture. "Be nice," she murmured without moving her lips. "I am," I said, and lifted my cup. Eric lifted his, suds clinging to the rim. "To Sadie," he boomed. "To being official, and to the best housewarming party with the best people." He glanced at me then, eyebrows up, as if inviting me to nod along. "And to Mom, for making all this possible." "Streamlined," Mom said, her laugh thin. I felt my phone buzz again against my hip. Another email, probably, or the calendar reminder I'd set for end dates. Confirm. I didn't look. I focused on the plant's leaves, the little new growth at the tip, glossy and unbothered by human ceremony. Eric raised his glass higher. "May the Wi-Fi be fast and the bills be—" The kitchen lights blinked. Once, a quick flutter like an eyelid. The music from the speaker hiccuped, and he looked up, joking on his tongue. "Paid," he finished, and then the whole room gave a small collective sound as the lights dimmed to a hum, flickered again, and went black. The fridge's low thrum cut out. The speaker died mid-beat. For a second, there was just the residual sound of people breathing and a kid's "Hey!" from the hallway. Someone near the back said, "Breaker." Automatically, Eric set his cup down in the dark and fumbled toward the hall where the electrical panel lives. Sadie's head turned toward me in the smudged reflection of the microwave door. Mom's hand tightened on my arm like a reflex. The room inhaled as one and held it. The house, for once, didn't ask me for anything. Someone near the sink tried a joke. "Who forgot to pay the light bill?" and it broke into nervous laughter that died fast. The little battery candle on the counter kept flickering like it was embarrassed to still be on. "Breaker!" Eric said again, more to himself. He disappeared down the hall, bumping a shoulder into the doorway. Drawers opened and closed in the half-dark. The fridge gave one last click and went quiet. "Did you do this?" Sadie's voice reached me before her face did. Her eyes were wide and shiny in the reflective black of the microwave. She wasn't yelling. It sounded like she genuinely wanted a yes so she could tell a story about me later. I set my cup down. "Not my house," I said. "Ask the owner." Mom's hand squeezed my arm hard enough to sting. "Livia," she hissed, low and breathy, years of warning tucked inside my name. "I'm not doing anything," I said, level. "I ended service, I told you." They moved the window. "This is not the moment," she said, and for a second I saw the math whirring behind her eyes, food spoiling, guests murmuring, the image of a perfect handoff sliding. From the hall. "It's not the breaker," Eric called. "Everything's on. Panel's fine." He was panting a little like he'd run a lap. "Let me call—" He cut himself off, maybe remembering who the account was, under or wasn't. "Who do we call?" Sadie asked, her voice pitching up. "The electric company," I said. "Under your account." She stared at me like I'd just switched to a language she didn't speak. "We don't have one yet," she said, as if that proved something in her favor. "Right," I said. Ciara drifted over, plate empty, eyes steady. "You've got flashlights in the junk drawer," she told Sadie. "Candles under the sink. Keep the fridge closed." It wasn't scolding. It was a map. Sadie opened the junk drawer and rummaged. The key I'd just given her flashed in the top drawer when she pulled it open by mistake. "Where are the... Why is there so much tape?" She looked helpless for a breath, and then put her chin up, switching into project manager voice. "Okay, everybody, outside, backyard, it's nice out. We'll do sparklers or something." She clapped, smiling big and bright enough to throw off light. People moved because that's what people do when told with confidence. Eric reappeared in the kitchen doorway with his phone to his ear. "Hold music," he said. "Of course." He looked at me like I might have a shortcut through it. I didn't offer one. Mom's whisper pressed into my shoulder. "Fix this," she said. "I can't," I said, stepping back. "It's not in my name anymore. It shouldn't have been this long." She flinched like I'd reached out first. "You're making a scene," she said. "I'm leaving," I said. "That's the opposite." I moved toward the side door because the front was a jam of bodies. Kiara's hand touched my elbow as I passed, a brief anchor. "You okay to drive?" she asked, the question small and practical. "Yep," I said. "Text me if you need anything that's mine." It sounded more bitter than I meant. She nodded anyway. On the patio, the Bluetooth speaker sputtered back to life for half a second on its internal battery, and then quit. Cousins were already turning their phone flashlights on and laughing too loudly. Sadie caught up with me at the steps, breath fast. "Wait," she said. "Can you just—" She glanced over her shoulder toward the house and dropped her voice. "We were going to fix the water heater Monday. It's been clicking. The guy wants a deposit. $300 just until Monday, please." Something in me wanted to say yes, out of habit, a muscle memory. I could hear Audrey's voice in my head. What would you tell me if this were me? I opened my messages and typed it so I didn't have to hold it between my teeth. I will not fund or manage that house. I hit send. Sadie's phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down, then up. You're really doing this, she said, not a question. I already did, I said. I slid my keys onto my finger. You need to open accounts. She blinked hard, like the party smoke stung. What about Mom? She asked, last grab. What about Mom? I said, and immediately hated the echo. She can't keep asking me for this. Wow, Sadie said, stepping back like I'd splashed her. Okay. She tucked her hair behind her ear and squared her shoulders back toward the yard. Enjoy your quiet. Thanks, I said, because that was actually the plan. In the driveway, my phone lit up with a swarm of texts, as if the chat had been damned and just found a crack. Family thread. Mom, come back inside. Don't leave like this. Sadie, this is mean. Eric, we'll take care of it. Just chill. Unknown number. This is the power company automated line. We can't complete your request without account owner verification. Oh, that one was to Eric. Forwarded. I kept moving. I got in the car and shut the door. The inside was its own pocket of quiet. I took a breath and started the engine. As I pulled away, the house looked like a photograph of a house. Outlines and people moving like shadows in the yard, candles bobbing in hands. My phone buzzed again and again on the console until it didn't. A last ping, then nothing but the soft hum of my own heater and the turn signal ticking me through the left onto Maple. By the time I hit the main road, the messages had slowed to a trickle. One from Ciara. Drive safe. One from Audrey. You good? And then the screen stayed dark. The neighborhood streetlights threw puddles of light onto the asphalt at regular, reasonable intervals. I drove through each one and let my shoulders drop an inch at a time. Monday started with 3 texts from Mom, stacked like plates. 11:42 p.m. This is on you. People were here. 7:09 a.m. I don't understand why the electric cut if you scheduled Monday. 9:31 a.m. Call me. We need to start fresh. I read them in order while my coffee dripped. I didn't answer the first 2. For the third, I typed, I can talk after work. On my commute, I called the tire shop I'd flagged. 2 for the front, I told the guy. He quoted me $256 installed for mid-range all seasons, plus $12 for disposal. Tuesday at 5:30 worked. I booked it and put a note in my calendar. It felt like moving money back where it belonged. By mid-morning, the group chat had unmuted itself by volume. Sadie. They want a deposit? $150 just to turn the lights on? This is robbery. Eric. Same-day fee is $95 if we want it today. Monday service is next available. Mom. I'm on hold with the gas. They say a tech has to come to read the meter before transfer. Who knew? Sadie. They gave me a 12:04 window tomorrow. I can't miss a shift. I put my phone face down and opened the billing portal at work. Codes and claim notes clicked my brain back into a rhythm I control. Audrey slid an iced coffee onto my desk around 11. How's the line? She asked. Holding, I said. They're meeting the consequences in the wild. She grinned. Tires tomorrow? Yep. 2 up front. Savings transfer Friday. At lunch, my phone buzzed with a call from a local number I didn't have saved. Ciara. Just checking in, she said when I answered. Proud of you. It came out flat and solid in a way that didn't require me to perform gratitude. Thanks, I said. They'll figure it out. They will, she said. And if they don't, they'll learn. After work, I called Mom. She got to, hello, and then went right into it. It was humiliating, she said. All those people, the lights. Your aunt. I told you, I said. I set end dates. I sent confirmations. You could have warned me about the window, she said. I did, I said. Twice, in text and in the email. Silence, then a softer exhale. We got it back on this afternoon, she said. $85 to reconnect. They want a deposit on Sadie's account. Internet can't come until Friday. Gas is sending someone tomorrow between 10 and 2. She'll miss work. I'm sorry it's a hassle, I said. And I meant it. Hassles are awful. But that's what owning something is. Bills, windows, deposits. I thought you were helping, she said, and it wasn't sharp. It sounded tired. I was, I said, for 2 years. I'm not anymore. She sat with that. Okay, she said finally. Can we start fresh? Yes, I said. Starting fresh means I don't fund or manage that house. A beat. Then what does it mean? She asked, small. It means I come over for dinner because I want to, I said. It means if you need a ride to a doctor, I'm there. It means I'm not a bank account with a person attached. She didn't apologize. That would have been a different family. But she said, okay, in a way that made space. Come Sunday, I'll make chicken. We'll keep it simple. Sunday is fine, I said. Tuesday after work, I sat in a plastic chair at the tire place and watched my car lift on the hydraulics. The bill was $268 with tax. I tapped my card and slid the receipt into my wallet. On the drive home, the steering felt steadier. I could feel the difference in my hands. Wednesday, maintenance from my building knocked at 3:10. I'd emailed the property manager Monday morning to ask about adding a second deadbolt. She replied within an hour with a yes and a $35 work order. Just sign here, the maintenance guy said. 20 minutes later, there was a new cylinder above the old one, keyed to my existing key. He tested it once, then had me do it. The click was clean. Thursday, I set up an automatic transfer, $150 every payday, into a savings account I renamed Quiet. My bank app put a little green check next to it. I turned my ringer off that night and slept like someone had turned off a machine in the corner of the room I didn't know had been humming. Mom texted pictures Friday morning of a new modem on a shelf and a technician's shoes by the rug. Sadie chimed in with a blurry selfie and a caption, "We have Wi-Fi," followed by a middle finger to the electric company joke that wasn't subtle. Eric wrote, "Water heater guy came. Put it on my card. Adulting is dumb. There were no requests folded in, just broadcast." I sent a thumbs up and went back to my claims. Sunday I picked up a store-bought pie and drove over. The key code Mom had texted me Wednesday worked. The house looked like itself in the soft ways. Same creak in the hallway. Same picture of us in front of a pumpkin. The difference was that the cables under the TV were labeled with Sadie's handwriting, and the internet bill on the counter had her name on it. Dinner was quiet in a good way. Sadie talked about paint. Eric about a stupid thing his coworker did with a forklift. Mom kept fussing with my plate and finally sat. When I got up to leave, she walked me to the door. "I'm trying," she said, "to not make money into things." "I know," I said. I put my hand on the new deadbolt because it was something I could touch. Me too. On the way home, I stopped at the hardware store for a cheap brass hook. Back at my apartment, I screwed it into the wall by my door and hung my keys. Then I turned both deadbolts and listened. 1, then 2. I tested them again, just because I could. The clicks were mine.